Hi diddly ho, Doctor. Are you ready for the usual amounts of non-existent torment and misery? Yeah, but before you show me whatever horrors you have planned, I need to review something else first. What? But you can't! Don't worry, it's still something bad. Plus, with the amount of hate I'm going to get from my opinions on the movie, it should satisfy you till next year. Now you listen here, you little shit! You can't just come to my place and... That should keep him out for a while. Greetings, travelers. I'm your host, the C. That knows a lot, Dr. Waluigi. With the announcement of the new Mario movie, fans can now rejoice in having a more faithful adaptation of our beloved plumber. Yeah, despite what many fans will tell you, there was another movie adaptation of the character that was released in the early 90s. Sadly, it's regarded as one of the worst video game movies ever made and makes fans cringe in horror whenever they hear it. But is it truly the worst video game adaptation? Well, join me in finding out as we take a look at the live-action Super Mario Bros. Movie. The movie's production history is a long and very painful one to be certain. The movie went through several directors and screenwriters. Hell, at one point the producers asked Harold Ramis of Ghostbusters fame to direct the movie. However, the producers settled on hiring Rocky Morton and Annabelle Jankel to direct. They were only known for creating the dated but fondly remembered Max Headroom series. So you'd think after having so many issues with choosing a director, things would work out, right? Well, unfortunately, this wasn't the end of the problems that this movie suffered. The movie also went through two different writers because the producers didn't like that the movie was super lighthearted and wanted a much darker tone. Unfortunately, the producers realized that the movie was becoming too dark for the demographic they wanted, so they ended up hiring two new writers and changing the tone again to fit the young kids' demographic. Because of these sudden changes, there were many fights going on behind the scenes between the directors, writers, and producers. Things got so bad that many of the cast members were drinking on set just to get through filming. The movie was a total and utter bomb for both critics and the box office, making back only $38.9 million against a budget of $42 to $48 million. However, despite its reputation, the movie has garnered a cult following to the point that many fans were able to find deleted scenes from the movie and have re-released them online, though I haven't been able to find them myself. The movie follows two brothers named Mario, played by Bob Hoskins, and Luigi, played by John Leguizamo, as they go to an alternate world to save an orphan princess, played by Samantha Mathis, as she is kidnapped by the evil King Koopa, played by Dennis Hopper, as he prepares his armies to take over our world. Can the brothers stop the evil king's rise, and will they be able to save the princess from the evil king's clutches? The cast of this movie is very hit or miss for me. On the one hand, I do agree that the choice for the Mario Brothers seems rather odd. While I have nothing against Bob Hoskins or John Leguizamo as actors, it's kinda obvious that these two aren't brothers, and for some reason have more of a father-son relationship. But I do think that most people don't mind this too much as they have great chemistry, especially after having to work through all the crap with the producers, directors, and writers. Samantha Mathis was also a pretty good actor to play Princess Daisy. She has a lot of good moments in the movie, and it was nice that they were able to take a bland stereotypical princess archetype and give her a much more fleshed out and human character. Even though it's weird that they chose to name her after the wrong princess. However, the one fault that this movie suffers from is the main villain. Dennis Hopper as King Koopa is the absolute worst character in the whole movie. You can tell that he was originally written to be an actual threat in the first cut of the movie, but because the producers wanted something more kid-friendly, he got butchered to this comedic farce of a character that got turned into one of the biggest memes of all time. Which is a shame because Dennis Hopper is a great actor who I think could have been a great Bowser. It's just that he wasn't given a great script to show his potential. I will give props to the movie that they at least tried to follow the plot of the games. Many other video game movies I've watched often have their plots changed because the directors don't care about the movie they're working on, or they try to update the story without understanding what made people like the games to begin with. So it's nice to see that the movie tries to stay close to the games by having a similar plot and referencing different items and characters from the game. I do also like that there are some good jokes in the movie, especially having Koopa be defeated by the Bomb. That was just hilarious. I just wish that the movie took more from those moments than what they did end up getting. If there's one thing that many fans can agree on is that the movie's set design is really terrible. According to the creators of the movie, they wanted to design the set similar to movies like Batman and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, except that this movie's design comes off more like they were ripping off Blade Runner. Now, I know a lot of you are asking the question, why didn't they just make this look like the fantasy world of the games? After all, the games are based on the classic fantasy trope of a hero rescuing a princess. Well, that's because of the transition going on in the 90s. For you see, kids, while the 80s was known for its great and classic fantasy films like Dark Crystal and The Princess Bride, during the late 80s, fantasy films became box office poison. None of those movies were making the same kind of money as they once were, and critics were bashing them left and right because they were getting tired of seeing the same thing over and over again. And with the success of films like RoboCop, Terminator, and especially Blade Runner, film studios decided to focus on adapting sci-fi films, which led to an entire decade of sci-fi movies that have aged about as well as half of the Disney Renaissance. The other thing that people complain about this movie was the choice of making the denizens of the Mushroom Kingdom become dinosaurs instead of, mushroom people. But the Mario movie did come out 3 years after Super Mario World, so they had to capitalize on the game by making a Mario movie with dinosaurs. Because that'll make the fans happy, right? So yeah, the movie is a complete and utter train wreck. Bad casting, horrible writing, god-awful set design, and way too many references must make this one of the worst video game movies of all time, right? Actually, I don't think it's that bad. Yes, despite all of the things I've mentioned, I do think that this movie isn't as bad as people make it out to be. It does have a lot of problems that hold it back, but with movies like Alone in the Dark and Max Payne, I think that this one hits a little less hard compared to those things. I give this movie a 6 out of 10. Not a great movie, but did pave the way for better video game movies over the last couple of years. Thanks for watching. I'm Dr. Waluigi, and remember, don't judge a book by its cover, cause you'll never know what's inside. Good night, everyone. What's the movie you have for me this time? Satan? Well, seeing as how you drugged me, I'm gonna give you something much worse than I intended. Oh yeah? What is it this time? Ginger Dead Man? Master of Disguise? Oh, I think you'll love this.